Hey everyone, I wanted to share with you today my experience on transitioning from 3 kids to 4 kids. This video is a collab with Sarah from Happy Home Life, and she is doing a video on transitioning from one kid to 2, one child to 2, and then also with Deanna from Taming the Frizz, and she is doing a video today on transitioning to 3 kids. So after you're done watching my video, make sure you check my links down below and check out both of their videos. I'm looking forward to watching theirs too and seeing what their experience was. So I'll start off by saying I found each transition to get easier and easier. So to me, going from having no kids, it just being my husband and I, to having a baby was a huge change. And that was, I would definitely say that was my hardest transition. Once I had my second, it was transitioning to splitting my time up between just having 1 child to focus on to all of a sudden splitting my time between 2, and then 3, and then 4. So each time got a little bit simpler. Don't take me wrong, it did not get simpler every time, that is for sure, but the transition was a little bit easier. So it was less of a shock, I guess. Although I did notice having a 4th, it did surprise me how much busier I got. Like, so busy. It's a little crazy. So for one, all of a sudden, my kids could be all over the house, like just my offspring. I could be holding this newborn baby and I could have one of my kids upstairs doing who knows what. Another one could be in the bathroom needing help or snooping or who knows what. I could have another child in the basement. Like, my kids could be all over the house at once making so many messes. That's another big thing. Even when I had 2 or even 3 and they were young, part of it is that my kids are getting older for sure. And I would have 2 or even 3 kids. They could all be in the living room and playing, and I could kind of keep an eye on all of them and know what they were doing. And then 4 is just like, okay, one is upstairs and just, you know, made a big mess in the bathroom and needs my help. One could be somewhere else and have just pinched their finger, and like they could just be everywhere and me not be able to keep track of them all, if you know what I mean. I could keep track of them, but they could be in other rooms doing things and I wasn't watching them all at the same time. So that was a little bit tricky, and still is a little bit tricky. This is a little bit sad to say, but I would forget about Simeon sometimes. He's my 3rd, so I have right now, so I'll go back to when my 4th was born. I had a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 2-year-old, and then my newborn. And so I was used to watching Elijah and Charity, so I would count 1, 2, I've got my 2 walking kids, and then I'd have my baby. And so my baby, by the time my 4th was born, so my 3rd, I feel like I'm so confusing sometimes when I try to explain things. I should just say their names, but I feel like some of you don't know their names. Anyway, hopefully this makes sense. So I'd be holding my 3rd, and that would be like my baby, or I'd be holding his hand, or that would be my baby at the time. So then once I had my 4th, it was like, okay, 1, 2, I have my baby, which is now a newborn, and I'd be like, whoa, wait, I'm missing one. My 3rd child, who's now a toddler. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it was like, wait, I have 2 that I'm watching, I have my baby, and I have another one. Just realizing that I had 4 kids to watch out for, you know, taking them to the grocery store. All of a sudden I feel like I have a crowd. I have my 2 babies, my toddler and my baby in the cart. I have 2 kids walking beside me. Like, just anywhere you go, 4 kids feels like much more of a crowd that I have with me all the time. Another thing I found tricky was reading stories. My kids love when I read stories to them. And so 2 kids is easy. You have 1 on either side of you. You can read them a book. Even 3, 1 can sit on your lap and 1 can sit on either side of you, and there's your 3 kids. Having 4, all of a sudden I would be holding my little baby, and then I'd have 1 child on either side of me, and the 4th child would be like, wait, where do I sit? Nobody wants to sit 2 people away from me and listen to a story. So that was a little tricky at the beginning. I was like, I can't just sit and like snuggle all my children and read a story to them. So often I'll just read a story to 1 or 2 of them at the same time, or if I'm reading a book to all of them, I read, like, I would call it like a teacher style, kind of with the kids all sitting in front of me, and I'll hold the book out to them so they can see the book. But that was a little tricky to me, trying to figure out situating the kids just to do something like that together, like reading a story. So as much as like I said, every transition got a little bit easier because I'm used to having babies in the house. I'm used to having diapers to change. I'm used to having messes. I'm used to dividing my time between children. No matter what, whenever you have a newborn, it's hard. Whether it's your first child, your 10th child, like it's a whole lot of work having a newborn. But like I said, it did get so much busier having a fourth, but the transition I found was still fairly smooth. It was just, I'm just that much busier. But now having 4 kids, I love that I have an even number of children. That was one thing I always wanted, and even thinking between should we have 3 kids, should we have 4 kids, I love the number 4 because it's even. And as my youngest gets older now, she just turned 1, I love that I can have 2 kids playing over here and 2 kids playing over there, and they're in pairs. And so there's never one left out. I also love that now they're getting older. So for one thing, when you have just a couple of young kids, sometimes I find it can be a little bit lonely because your kids aren't really talking to you yet. They're not doing big kid things. They're just playing, toddling around, crying, needing a lot of things. But now my oldest is 6, and so the older kids are really fun to be around. We can do fun things together, and they're also really helpful. And especially my oldest Elijah is finally to the place where he's doing chores that help me. You know what I mean? When you start doing, when you start giving your kids chores, sometimes it's like, okay, you're gonna wipe the table for me, and then they do it and you have to do it over again, or it takes longer because you are helping them do it. But my kids are definitely at the point now where their chores are helping me, which is such a blessing. My oldest son takes out our recycling every day, so he takes that out to the garage, takes the garbage out. Those kind of things actually help, which is really nice. It is so fun seeing my kids become friends. They're not just siblings. They fight a lot because they are siblings, but they're also really good friends, and I love hearing them talk together and make plans and make up little stories. It's so fun, and I love seeing all their different personalities. I have 4 kids, and I definitely see similarities between the 4 of them. There's a couple things like, okay, they both do this, they both have this characteristic, but they are also completely different. They have 4 very different personalities, and it's just so fun to see their little personalities. I love it. And so that is my experience with transitioning to 4. If you have transitioned to 4 or you're about to, let me know what you're thinking, what your experience was. What was your hardest transition? I would like to know that. I hear a lot of people say 3. To me, 3 wasn't a big deal. 1 was definitely the hardest transition. So I'd love to hear your experience on transitioning from no kids to 1 or 1 to 2 or what have you. So thank you for watching this video. If you're not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe and join my channel, and you'll see every video that I post. And I will see you in my next video. Bye!